Namaskar, honorable dignitaries, my Lord Shri Justice Anand Pathak, Judge, High Court of MP, Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhir Agarwal, Judicial Member, National Green Tribunal, Principal Bench, New Delhi, Honorable Dr. Ashio Mao, Director, Botanical Survey of India, Kolkata, Dr. Renu Singh, IFS, Director, Forest Research Institute, Dehradun, Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. Honorable Dr. Sushil Kumar Avasthi, Director General of Forest, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Honorable Shri Achalinder Reddy, Retired IFS Officer and Chairperson, National Biodiversity Authority, Chennai. Honorable Lordships of the Apex Court, Honorable Lordships of the various High Courts, Honorable the Chairperson of National Green Tribunal, Shri Prakash Srivastava Sir, Honorable Members of the National Green Tribunal, Officers of the Registry, eminent resource persons and delegates coming from different parts of the nation, faculty members, dear students, audience, those who are attending virtually, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste, very warm good morning. I, Vikesh Ramesh Asudani, Assistant Registrar, Civil Judge Junior Division at National Green Tribunal, Western Zone Bench, Pune, welcome you all from and on behalf of National Green Tribunal and on my personal behalf for this third technical session. It is said, it is not a house, it is a home because you all are here. Welcome and let the memories begin of this wonderful event. We are honored and privileged today to have with us Honorable Shri Justice Anand Pathak, Judge, High Court of Madhya Pradesh, as the chair of this session. Lordship, we deeply appreciate your commitment to the environment jurisprudence and welcome your Lordship to guide our discussion in the third technical session. It is a point to be special mention that Honorable Lordship, by his judicial orders, has directed and implemented plantation at Gwalior Bench to compensate deforestation, which shows his Lordship's sensitivity and keen interest towards environment protection and protection of the trees. Commencing the felicitation, I would now request honorable members of the panel and the Honorable Shri Justice Anand Pathak, Judge, High Court of Bombay, to please come on the dais and grace the dais. All the panel members are also requested to please come on the dais and grace the dais. Before commencing the session, I think we should give a round of applause for Honorable Justice Anand Pathak for the great contribution in protecting the environment, as Lordship has directed in many of his orders, and get it implemented from the authorities for plantation wherever deforestation was done. So we are grateful to have such an eminent personalities before us. Thank you. Now I request Honorable Shri Justice S.K. Singh, Judicial Member, National Green Tribunal, Central Zonal Bench, Bhopal, to kindly come and welcome and felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice Anand Pathak, Judge, High Court of Madhya Pradesh, by presenting a sapling and a memento. Thank you, sir. Now, I would humbly request Honorable Dr. Afroz Ahmed, Expert Member, National Green Tribunal, Principal Bench, New Delhi, to kindly welcome and felicitate Honorable Justice Sudhir Agarwal, Judicial Member, National Green Tribunal, Principal Bench, New Delhi, by presenting a sapling and a memento. Thank you, sir. Moving further, I would request Honorable S. Vinita Ma'am, Registrar General, National Green Tribunal, New Delhi, to welcome and felicitate Sri Dr. Ashu Mao, Director, Botanical Survey of India, Kolkata, by presenting a sapling and memento. Thank you. I would now request Shri Dipto Ghosh, Registrar, National Green Tribunal, Eastern Zone Bench, Kolkata, to welcome and felicitate Dr. Renu Singh, IFS Director, Forest Research and Institute, Dehradun, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, by presenting a sapling and memento. Thank you. Thank you. I would request Ms. E. Shobha, Deputy Registrar, National Green Tribunal, Southern Zone Bench, Chennai, to welcome and felicitate Honorable Dr. Sushil Kumar Avasti, Director General of Forest, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Thank you. I would request Honorable Fatima Ali, Assistant Registrar, National Green Tribunal, Principal Bench, New Delhi, to welcome Honorable Shri Achalendra Reddy Sir, IFS and Chairperson, National Biodiversity Authority, Chennai, who is also moderator for today's program, by presenting a sapling and a memento. Thank you. With the permission of the honorable members and chair, I declare the commencement of the third technical session. I now most humbly invite our moderator, Sri Achalendra Reddy sir, on the rostral and continue with this session. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Good morning, everyone. Today, we are in technical session 3, chaired by Honorable Justice Anand Pathak ji. Then we have esteemed panel members, Honorable Justice Sudhir Agarwal ji, Dr. Ashosi Mao ji, Director, BSA Kolkata, Dr. Renu Singh ji, Dr. Sushil Kumar Avasti ji, Director General and Special Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Distinguished delegates, lordships, students, ladies and gentlemen, I thank NGT, especially Chairman NGT Justice Prakash Srivastava ji, for giving this opportunity to be in this August House and share some random thoughts on the theme forest and biodiversity. Yesterday, we had a wonderful, useful, purposeful sessions and had an engaging experience on air pollution, water pollution, river conservation, and regulatory frameworks, progress made by us, and future challenges. Today, in this third technical session, we are going to exchange, discuss, share thoughts on forest and biodiversity, their importance, role in improving our quality of life, both ecologically and economically. We would also focus on human interventions impacting forest and biodiversity, causes, regulatory framework, impact, and solutions. The forest and biodiversity conservation, it is a theme that is central to India's environmental policy, ecological stability, and global sustainability commitments. You might have seen the brochure circulated by NGT. Honorable Justice Prakash Srivastava ji made a quote out of, Albert Einstein. Look deep into the nature, and then you will understand everything better. I think this captures the spirit of this session. If you go to ancient times also, Maharshi Vasistha took the Rama and three brothers to the forest and the Gurukul for training of the future kings. That means if you observe the nuances of the complexity of ecosystem working, those will become great rulers, great kings who will understand the society better, and nuances and subtleness, the social pressures and social interactions, and can become great kings and emperors. So the forest ecosystem, the biodiversity teaches us a lot if you just look deeper, as mentioned in the brochure by our Justice Chairperson NGT. Friends, forests and biodiversity are fundamental to maintaining ecosystem services, supporting livelihoods, regulating climate change, and ensuring environmental resilience. Coming to India, we are a God-blessed country, in fact. India is one of the 17 mega biodiverse countries out of 196 parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity. We have 4 hotspot biodiversity areas out of 36 biodiversity hotspots in the world. We have 16 forest types classified by Champion and Shade way back in 1968. We have 10 biogeography regions. We have deserts, we have rivers, we have mountains, we have alpine forests, we have tropical forests, we have scrub forests, everything what you want under this sky. So therefore, the biodiversity conservation, the forest conservation is pivotal for our, not only for our ecological security, but our economic security. However, forests and biodiversity are facing unprecedented challenges due to anthropogenic pressures, including deforestation, habitat fragmentation, climate change, industrialization, pollution, and invasive alien species and land use changes. Preserving forests and biodiversity is vital for ecological sustainability, climate resilience, and human well-being. A collaborative approach involving governments, communities, industries, and international bodies is essential for conservation of biodiversity. Future strategies should emphasize technological innovations, policy reforms, and community-driven conservation to safeguard biodiversity for future generations. Now, if you see the regulatory regime of our country, there are already a lot of plethora of laws dealing with the forest and biodiversity. I don't want to go into the details. We all know that for Forest Act came in 1927, Wildlife Act came in 1972, Environmental Act came in 1986, and so on and so forth, very policy measures. Then why the Biological Diversity Act, which is something like appears to be a repetition of the same thing, but it's not. In the Biological Diversity Act, it captures the 3 elements, 3 pillars of the text of the Convention on Biological Diversity. One is sustainable use of biodiversity. Second, one is conservation of biodiversity. Second is sustainable use of biodiversity. Third is facilitation of equitable benefit sharing that arises from the utilization of the bioresources. The third pillar, the third objective, is the most difficult one, which we have been grappling with. From NBA, I think some of the cases are there in NGT, dealing with many issues, conceptual clarities. The companies go there, the definitions are interpreted in a different way. Therefore, these are the issues which are related to the biodiversity in overall conservation and sustainable use. So let us take a pause and ask, what is biodiversity? Actually, in my view, as per my limited understanding, compared to climate change, biodiversity is a diffused subject. It is very difficult to articulate before the political executive, before the intellectuals, before the policy planners. They ask in a very straight questions, what we are doing, what is biodiversity? Already forests are there, wildlife is there, forest policies are there. So the point I am trying to emphasize from the scientific point of view is that it is a variety life on Earth. It is a diversity within species, between species and of ecosystems. Biodiversity is a multidimensional, multidisciplinary subject. Emotionally or poetically, we may say biodiversity is life, biodiversity is our life. When we deal and discuss with biodiversity, at least till 2030, we cannot ignore KMGBF, that is Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. It is having 23 targets. It captures all about forest and biodiversity, how to go about it, how to achieve the targets placed before us. It is a comprehensive, cohesive framework, mainstreaming biodiversity in forest management and other line departments. As I said earlier, when we go to the field, they ask how to implement biodiversity, what to do. So we have to explain in a very simple terms. There are life owning departments, life supporting departments. There are life owning departments are forestry, agriculture, horticulture, fisheries, animal husbandry. What are the life supporting departments? It is a Panchayat Raj and Rural Development and the irrigation department and other supporting departments. When we explain in this way, then they understand, oh, biodiversity has to be mainstreamed into agriculture department, it has to be mainstreamed into fisheries department, it has to be mainstreamed into the animal husbandry department. The conservation, there are 23 we have prepared, we are very happy and in fact, we are proud to announce that out of 196 parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity, only 46 countries have prepared a National Biodiversity Strategy Action Plan, just I shared with Honorable Justices. And in that, we have brought out how the 23 ministries and other departments are also concerned with biodiversity. It is not the only, the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change. So such is the cross-sectoral spread of the biodiversity among the ministries and the departments. So coming to the, just before I close my interaction with you, I would like to mention a new development called digital sequence information. Earlier we used to say biopiracy. Now we are saying digital piracy. As the science evolved, the conservation of and sustainable utilization and fair and equitable bearing of benefits, that is ABS mechanism, is becoming difficult day by day. The dematerialized genetic information can go virtually over the internet, and others can prepare vaccines, pharmaceuticals based on the digital information and genetic resources. This is the main topic during the COP15 held in Cali, Colombia, and recently we have attended in Rome, resumed session. There also it has been stabilized. So these are the challenges, and therefore we need to look into the latest technological innovations in order to conserve, preserve biodiversity, and also for the benefit of our own health. The One Health policy has come into practice. It is the disturbance in the web of the biodiversity will lead to many evolution of many diseases like COVID, and many are in the offing. Therefore, we need to be very sensitive towards the disturbance of biodiversity in order to prevent the evolution of new diseases amongst the human beings, and therefore the One Health policy, the animal and the human interactions, the jumping of the microorganisms from one human to and back is a very important aspect. Therefore, it also is very important from our health point of view. With this, now we have embarked. We all know, in spite of having many problems and issues, India has excelled in conservation of forest and biodiversity in India, and has about 17.78% of human population, about 14.7% of cattle population of the world. In spite of having huge biotic pressure, India has 25.17% of geographical area of the country under forest and tree cover. We have 106 national parks, 570 wildlife sanctuaries, 220 community reserves, 123 conservation reserves, and 47 biodiversity heritage sites declared under the Biological Diversity Act. This is keeping in view the population size. This is really an excellent progress which we have made in the forest and biodiversity. Now, we have embarked on the identification declaration of final notification of other effective area-based conservation measures, a new concept that was brought during the 14th conference of the parties to Convention on Biological Diversity. With this approach, we are hopeful we will do better, and we are leading already in the ABS mechanism in the world. We hope to do far better with the cooperation of all the stakeholders, with the help of judiciary. This will be, definitely India has definitely a great standing in the international fora on the biodiversity conservation and implementation of the ABS mechanism. Thank you very much for your attention. Distinguished delegates, now I also have to perform my role as a moderator. So, I may now request Honorable Justice Anand Pathak ji to share his thoughts on this session, Forest and Biodiversity. Sir, floor is yours.
Namaste, respected dignitaries on and off the dais, all respected participants, ladies and gentlemen. I feel privileged to be here, and I am thankful to NGT and Justice Prakash Srivastava Sahab for giving me this opportunity. It is said that since paucity of time is there, therefore I would confine my submissions bullet point wise. It is said that in every 6 seconds, a forest size of a football field disappears. So when we started 10:30, so we think that around more than 200 football fields have disappeared by now within 20-25 minutes, perhaps more than that. This is just an indicator how things are moving. In the period where we are living, 3 biggest disruptors are there, or defining factors. One is artificial intelligence, another is mental health, and third is climate change. More or less, they are interrelated also, but at the same time, they are having deepest of impact over our lives. Mental health and climate change, they are interrelated to an extent that National Law University Nagpur conducted a research program in Nagpur where some flash points of criminal activities were there. Some pockets were there where crimes were committed more often. The researchers found that whenever in Nagpur, it is said that 3 seasons are there, hot, hotter, hottest. So when hottest weather prevails, then on those corners, on those points, this climate change this hottest weather act as flashpoint, and disputes even between couple in neighborhood, in other areas, these disputes proliferate. So they came to the conclusion, research was in respect of some crime investigation and for police department. So then police started taking some steps, remedial measures in those areas. But message is that climate change has overall impact on our overall well-being, our thought process. Since we are here in air-conditioned atmosphere, therefore we are comfortably talking. Otherwise, we might have been distracted or dissuaded by some other factors. So this is climate change. There are many problems, many global challenges. As we know, Dr. Reddy has said, earlier panelists were informing us about the impact and the global challenges. These global challenges, everybody knows that lungs of the world, like Amazon, like Africa's forest, Indonesia, Malaysia, because of logging, because of mining, because of agriculture activities, they are depleting. One aspect is invasive species proliferation. That is also one factor which has to be reckoned with. Another is protection of traditional knowledge of indigenous people. These are the global challenges. And since I am a student of law, I am a judge, so my domain is not so as of that of experts, but I am just raising certain questions and certain solutions, whether we can go for those solutions so that we can try to halt the proceedings, halt the process, if not reversal, because reversal will come later. I tried to implement or make some experiments there at Gwalior where I am sitting as judge, Madhya Pradesh High Court. I found that Gwalior is an area which also has very extreme temperatures, 48, 49 degrees in summers and 1 or 2 degrees at winters. It is like a bowl, situated like in a bowl syndrome where everything around is hillocks. So whenever any bail order I passed, I started this in 2017. I am just saying that whether we can replicate this in other areas also. So whenever I used to pass a bail order, I suggested lawyers and litigants, whenever I pass an order for restoration of petition, which is got dismissed in default, or some miscellaneous matters, so I suggested lawyers, litigants, whether they would plant a sapling. Initially resistance or some reluctance was there, rather than resistance, it was reluctance. साहब हम कहाँ करेंगे? Some started planting saplings in their courtyards, vicinity. Later on, I asked collector of that district to earmark a place for plantation. And I suggested that the land should be, which may be infested with encroachment and which may be barren, so that we can turn it green. So this is one of the examples. So collector earmarked a land, Sirol Hillock at Gwalior. It was cordon off, fenced, water facilities made available. And accused and other litigants started planting saplings. So earlier it was like that, upar wala jo photo hai, above. And later on, it turned by the plantation of saplings by accused and litigants and lawyers. So what I feel is that when by judicial intervention, by suggestion, it was not forceful, it was persuasive. And in one of my judgments, I explained the scope of Section 437, subsection 3 of CRPC, which talks about any other condition. So I explained what can be any other conditions, because it is to be seen in perspective of Article 51A of Constitution also, because every citizen, every person owe a duty to nation to plant, to promote environment. If this process is replicated in other fields also, like officers who found dereliction of duties, or a sepoy is found guilty of some misconduct, then, and if he is to be punished for minor penalties, then whether those minor penalties can be in the form of plantation of saplings, so that that sepoy or that officer or that staff can be given an option that he has to plant saplings, until saplings grow into full-fledged trees. Your punishment is deferred. Thereafter, if you are found negligent, then you may be given punishment. So this may, in a way, the person would be persuaded, person would be encouraged, person would be promoted on ground, because we have to perform on ground. Whatever we say, unless we implement it, we cannot be in winning position. Another aspect I consider deserves deliberations is whether we can integrate Manrega with plantation in a way that person or agriculturist may given an option that if he plant this much number of trees in his agriculture field, fruit-bearing trees mostly, then he would be given 100 days of wages for plantation, for taking care, for preserving those trees. And for 3 years, you would be given 100 days wages each year. And thereafter, when trees would become fruit-bearing, then that would be your added asset. That would be your an added source of income. So then agriculturists or persons from rural background, they would be encouraged to go for plantation of fruit-bearing trees, because otherwise, as I said, that invasive species or those plants which fetch more water would proliferate, and fruit-bearing trees or neem, peepal, they would be discouraged. So we have to see that exact right trees at right places should be planted. For that, technology, AI, and other technology may come into play. Therefore, I was saying that AI, climate change, and mental health are interlinked. One thought deserves contemplation is that whether we can conceive of a concept of nowadays it is CSR, corporate social responsibility. Whether we can start a concept of corporate climate responsibility, where they will set off their damages, will set off their destruction, because development at times causes destruction also, destruction of trees and all. So whether this set off can be done by corporate climate responsibility. And another concept along with this is whether we can conceive a thought of citizenry climate responsibility, CCR, because we have to see that everything would not be done by the government, by the organizations, or by the corporates. It has to be by citizens also. So Article 51A of Constitution, in fact, talks about CCR only, that citizen, they also owe responsibility. So whether this responsibility to citizens can be given, and whether we can think of proliferating this idea, then how this idea would be proliferated. One thing is that we can go to schools, colleges, and sensitize children, students. Another idea is that all training academies of all denominations in the country, right from IAS Training Academy at Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, Mussoorie, IPS Academy at Hyderabad, or other academies, even academies or the institutions which are giving training to the teachers who have done B.Ed or M.Ed, and if they intend to go into teaching profession, or once they are appointed, selected as teachers, and they go for training, so they are source. If they are taught this climate responsibility, climate change challenges, problem of deforestation, and how afforestation concept can be promulgated or proliferated. This aspect can be taught to those teachers also, so that those teachers can proliferate idea to their students and to near and dear ones. This can be thought of. One concept which I feel is regarding whether we can establish a national carbon credit bank, because I am thinking of, I have talked to IT department of state of Madhya Pradesh, that around 28,000, because it does not include this tabular representation does not include when I directed saplings to be planted at Jabalpur. It talks about Gwalior only. So around 28,000, more than 28,000 plants, saplings have been planted. And for that, we have created a Nisarg app also, which is based on geofencing principle. And a person has to comply the order because of this monitoring. So monitoring system has also put in place. So I am suggesting whether we can have this calculation of carbon credit we generated. So whether this type of national carbon credit bank can be established, where it would be a tradable permit that will allow industries to compensate for their emissions by investing in reforestation and conservation projects. So whether we can think of that, whether we can think of one sovereign climate funds or state climate funds, which can channel revenue from fines, just like a person who has not taken platform ticket, a person who did not wear helmet and fined, or other minor fines. Those fines can go into that fund. So that sovereign fund, if is created, then it would take care of afforestation or maintaining biodiversity. Because as it is said that our one cell in our body is reflection of whole universe. पूरे ब्रह्मांड का प्रतिबिंब वो सेल होता है, कोशिका होती है. Similarly, one tree is a reflection of whole biodiversity or whole ecosystem, because a tree bears thousands, I think hundreds or thousands of species. चींटियाँ भी हैं, गिलहरी भी है, चिड़िया भी है, उसमें सांप भी है, नेवला भी है, और अदर प्रोटोजोआ बैक्टीरिया जो होते हैं. So it carries a whole ecosystem, a whole biodiversity. So afforestation or plantation of trees would create this biodiversity to the extent where we would not confine our thoughts to human rights only. Because more and more we talk about human rights. Human means Homo sapiens rights. We don't talk about planetary rights. And biodiversity contemplates in its very thought about planetary rights. So now we have to think about planetary rights. At least 50% rights may be, at best, of Homo sapiens rights, and rest of the 50% consist of rights of animals and plants and all these vegetation. So now we have to shift the lens, shift the focus. Now we have to teach about planetary rights also. rights of different species existing in planet. This is, if we depart from this thought only from human rights. Human rights are different. I am not talking about those human rights which are to be ensured. I am not talking about that. I am talking about, we are talking about only about Homo sapiens, how our energy demands would be fulfilled, how our life would be better, how our technology would improve our standard of living. These are one-dimensional, unidimensional. Another dimension is regarding planetary rights, then biodiversity would be ensured. So whether these sovereign climate funds, whether these carbon credit banks can be conceived of, can be implemented so that we can think of halting the process. One thought is regarding using AI and drone technology for seed bombing at some remote areas like hilly areas where the deserts, barren islands, where a common human being has difficulty to reach, where we can, from drone, we can do seed bombing. This is one of the thoughts which we can think of. One aspect, so far as from legal point of view, I think that every NLU, National Law University, or any university, any law college, should act as a think tank for a particular subject. Like a particular NLU can be given the task of taking research and studies in environmental laws. Because lawyers and judges, as professionals, we don't have much time. We have to decide the cases. So we adjudicate whatever comes in front of us, whatever comes before us. We cannot maintain such research to the extent where we may neglect other cases. But academicians, students, they have dissertations, they have PhDs, they have other projects, research work. So these research institutes, these NLUs, they must act as think tank for environmental laws also. They may think of all these concepts which we are discussing here, yesterday and today. Whatever we are discussing, that can be discussed threadbare by the NLUs in their different programs, their research work, different projects, different assignments given to students. So that aspect can also be looked into, so that the maximization of potential of NLUs can be realized. Two aspects more deserve consideration is, one is urban greening. Whether we can go for urban greening. Urban greening it refers to the integration of vegetation and green infrastructure within urban environments to enhance environmental quality, resilience, and public well-being, like urban forest and parks, green roofs and vertical gardens, tree-lined streets and green belts, avenues banake, riverfront restoration and wetlands. Wetlands maybe one can do floating wetlands also for aquatic biodiversity, community gardens and urban farms. This is urban greening. One concept is, which I think is from China, and it is regarding sponge cities. China, earlier some of the cities were very polluted, but they tried to create this concept and implement it. And this sponge city is an urban design framework that enhances a city's ability to absorb, store, purify, and reuse rainwater naturally, mimicking the behavior of a sponge. This approach reduces flooding, improves water security, and enhances urban resilience to climate change. इसमें permeable pavements, जो blocks होते हैं, that can allow water to go down. Green roofs, vertical gardens, urban wetlands and artificial lakes, bioswales and rain gardens. Bioswales, they absorb water, rainwater, and purify it, and then allow the water to filter down so that the underground water level does not go with the oil and other things of automobiles and would not pollute the underground water. Smart water storage, this is underground reservoirs and retention ponds that store excess rainwater for future use. This is also a concept. And some initiatives which deserve consideration and attention is that one project, I am told that Government of India has taken that Aravali Green Wall project, right from Delhi to Kutch, forest cover with thickness of 5 kilometers. They are trying to create a wall to stop desertification of Kutch and Thar and to try to stop the winds, because from Middle East and from Midwest, these winds, they come with some dust into it. So since Aravalis are oldest mountains, so Aravalis now are withered away. So they cannot stand as wall against those winds. So government is trying to create this green wall. So if this project is implemented, then it can be replicated in some other areas also. One concept Government of India started is of Nagarvan, city forest. Around 200 cities have been earmarked. So my suggestion is whether these cities, the city forest, Nagarvans, can be integrated with concept like what I have demonstrated earlier, that any fine, any punishment, minor punishment can be converted into plantation of trees, and those trees can be planted in a earmarked area of Nagarvan. So every city would have a separate lung, and every city would have urban forest. So not only the green cover, but also the mental health of, or rather emotional health of citizen at large would be protected. And last, I would say, which I always repeat and I always write in every my every order which bears this plantation, I always repeat that it is not the question of plantation of a tree, but the germination of a thought. So once we germinate the thought, then trees would automatically be planted. So I am thankful that all you have patiently given me time, and these are the concepts on which we can deliberate, and hopefully some new solutions would come. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Let us give a big hand to Justice Anand Pathak ji for giving an innovative orders for promotion of greenery and for highlighting CSR and Carbon Credit Bank. May I now request Honorable Justice Sri Sudhir Agarwal ji, Judicial Member, NGT, Principal Bench, New Delhi, for taking over the floor and address the gathering. Thank you, sir.
Of the dais. A very good morning to all of you. Today our topic is forest and biodiversity. This is the third session. You see, environment is not for the first time which has been taken note internationally in 1970s or in India thereafter. But fortunately, we have taken note of environment in Vedic India also. So I start therefrom. Prathvim dharayati sah vriksha. Trees uphold the very essence of earth. Chhino na puryet kamam, chinno narish dhiratha. Shatam Chedram Sahasram Cha Shakhinam Vraksh Jivinam. A tree gives its shade, fruits, and life, giving oxygen, yet it asks for nothing in return. It is with profound humility and a strong sense of purpose that I address you today in this third technical session of the National Green Tribunal Conference. We have gathered here to deliberate on forest and biodiversity, the lifelines of our planet. This is not just an occasion for discussion, but a pivotal moment that calls for decisive action. The responsibility before us is immense. We are tasked with not only identifying the challenges in conservation, but also forging solutions that are both practical and sustainable. Our natural treasures, forest and biodiversity, are indispensable, not just to ecosystems, but to humanity and all forms of life. Forests are much more than clusters of trees. They regulate our climate, purify the air, and absorb vast amounts of carbon dioxide, serving as our planet's defense against global warming. They stabilize the soil, manage rainfall, and provide shelter to a stunning array of species. Forests act as carbon sinks, absorbing nearly one-third of global carbon dioxide emissions annually. Moreover, they sustain the livelihoods of over 1.6 billion people, providing essential resources such as food, medicine, and raw materials critical for economic stability. Likewise, biodiversity weaves an intricate web that nurtures agriculture, sparks medical breakthroughs, and ensures the resilience of ecosystems. Yet, these invaluable resources face immense threats: deforestation, habitat loss, and unchecked human activity continues to compromise their strength. The challenges we face are substantial. The 2023 Global Forest Watch report reveals that tropical regions lost over 11.1 million hectares of tree cover last year, a loss equivalent to the size of Portugal. Here in India, the 2023 State of Forest report reflects both progress and concern. While forest and tree cover now accounts for 25.17% of India's land area, the decline in dense forests, which are vital for biodiversity, is deeply troubling. Consider the Sundarbans, the world's largest mangrove forest and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Rising sea levels and human encroachment threatens this invaluable ecosystem, jeopardizing its biodiversity and the livelihoods of millions who depend on it. Globally, biodiversity loss has reached alarming proportions. The Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services estimates that nearly 1 million species are at risk of extinction. In India, iconic species like the Indian elephant, Asiatic lion, and great Indian bustards face the brink of extinction. Vital medicinal plants that support traditional and modern healthcare are vanishing at an alarming rate. The decline of pollinators such as bees and butterflies is disrupting food production, creating severe agricultural challenges. The pages of history offer profound lessons on the delicate balance of ecosystems. During late 1950s, under Mao Zedong's leadership, China embarked on the Four Pests campaign as part of Great Leap Forward. Sparrows were targeted for eradication, being viewed as threats to agricultural productivity due to their grain consumption. However, this campaign set off a series of unintended and devastating consequences. With sparrows eliminated, locust populations surged unchecked, leading to widespread crop destruction that exacerbated the Great Chinese Famine. The ripple effects of this ecological imbalance brought unimaginable human suffering and revealed a universal truth. Ecosystems are intricately interconnected, and the removal of a single component can destabilize the entire system. The campaign also involved widespread social mobilization, including children participating in sparrow killing movements, further highlighting the profound social and environmental impacts of such policies. This historical episode is a stark reminder that the well being of humanity is inseparably tied to the health of our natural world, and that disruption, even with good intentions, can have catastrophic and far reaching consequences. These challenges compel us to confront urgent questions. What can be done to combat deforestation and prevent species extinction? How can we bridge the gaps in our conservation efforts? India's cultural heritage offers profound guidance. Ancient scriptures such as the Rig Veda invoke Aranyani, the goddess of forests, as a symbol of abundance and balance. Indigenous communities like the Bishnois embody these ideals, living in harmony with nature and protecting its treasures for future generations. Our nation has institutionalized these values through progressive policies and laws. The Forest Conservation Act of 1980 enforces strict regulations to curb deforestation and mandates compensatory afforestation for development projects. The Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 safeguards endangered species and creates protected areas. The Environment Protection Act of 1986 empowers authorities to regulate harmful industrial practices. And the Biological Diversity Act of 2002 promotes sustainable and equitable use of biological resources. India's judiciary has been instrumental in conservation efforts. Landmark judgments like the T.N. Godavarman Thirumul case broadened the definition of forest to include ecologically significant areas. MC Mehta versus Kamalnath case invoked the public trust doctrine, emphasizing that natural resources are held in trust for the public's benefit. The Mumbai mangrove conservation case has reinforced the importance of protecting ecosystems that act as natural coastal barriers. Despite these strides, challenges remain. Enforcement is inconsistent. Ecological corridors between protected areas are inadequate, and habitat fragmentation leaves many species vulnerable. Reforestation efforts often neglect native species, compromising the integrity of ecosystems. Public awareness campaigns and educational initiatives still lack the reach and impact needed. To address these gaps, bold and innovative solutions are required. Initiatives like the Green India Mission must prioritize the restoration of native species. Community-driven efforts such as joint forest management should empower indigenous populations by integrating their traditional knowledge with modern practices. Technology must also be leveraged. Tools like satellite imagery, drones, and geographic information systems can enable real-time monitoring of deforestation and biodiversity. Additionally, industries must embrace sustainable supply chains to ensure responsible resource usage. Ecotourism can serve as a dual purpose strategy, encouraging conservation while providing economic opportunities for local communities. India's participation in global initiatives like the Bond Challenge and REDD further highlights our commitment to sustainable development. What comes out can we envision? The revival of degraded ecosystems, the restoration of habitats supporting endangered species, and the creation of wildlife corridors ensuring ecological connectivity. A measurable increase in forest cover and community involvement will not only transform landscapes but also livelihoods. Most importantly, we will foster a culture of stewardship, inspiring future generations to value and protect nature. Education remains the cornerstone of these efforts. By integrating environmental studies into school curricula and expanding eco clubs under the National Green Corps, we can nurture environmental consciousness among young minds. Public campaigns can mobilize citizens towards sustainable practices, ensuring conservation becomes a shared endeavor. A nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. Forests are the lungs of our land, purifying the air and giving fresh strength to our people. It was said by Franklin D. Roosevelt. Let us be inspired by these words and act collectively as guardians of nature. Let this conference serve as a turning point, a catalyst for impactful and enduring action. Forests and biodiversity are not merely resources, they are the lifelines of our planet and the foundation of humanity's existence. Together, let us pledge to protect every species, restore every habitat, and ensure that forest and biodiversity thrive for generations to come. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting conservation of endangered species, restoration of wildlife corridors, and message to future generations. Now, may I request the Dr. Sushil Kumar Avasthiji, Director General of Forest and Special Secretary, MYFCC, to take over the floor and address the gathering.
Thank you. Honorable Shri Justice Anand Pathak, who is chairing the session today, Honorable Shri Justice Sudhir Agarwal, my colleagues on the dais, and the most distinguished audience in front of me. At the outset, I would thank the Honorable Tribunal for allowing me this opportunity to be speaking before all of you. I would be running a presentation so that I have to speak less and I take less time. I have chosen four brief things to be delving on. The first thing I would do is to highlight the significance of India's forestry sector, then the biodiversity richness, although a lot has already been spoken about it. And then I'll come to the challenges, which are quite many, and then the possible way out, what we can do with all our possible resources and energy. Forest and tree cover, as you all know, we have around 25% of our landmass under forest and tree cover. We are a very, very special country in the world because as you discover more, you get exposed to the uniqueness of our country. We are a country which has got around 1/4 of its landmass under forest. And the biodiversity, we speak about that, the forest has around 80% of it. We also give, there are also, although 173,000 forest-dependent villages, and we provide livelihood to almost 1/4 population. We also take care of 40% of their energy needs, 30% of their fodder supply, and the grazing requirement. If we think in terms of the direct employment, which the forests give, is almost 350 million man days are generated every year. 275 million people have their sustenance from the forest. We also take care of around 56% of the rural fuel and fodder needs. Besides that, there are many values. We all take benefit of that. The ecotourism, the timber, the non-wood forest products. And with all this, we are also a mega biodiverse country. We have around, you can say 12% of the birds recorded flora. That works out to be around 45,000 species. We have around 7% of the global fauna, which works out to be some 91,000 species. And I should also supplement my statement with saying that we have only 2.4% of the world land area. We have the world's largest population, human population. We also have the world's largest cattle population. So with all this background, if you have so many success stories, I think I will never fall short of narrating them before you. We have the world's 70% population of Royal Bengal tigers, although it is not called Royal Bengal tiger. This is a symbol of conservation in our country. We started off with the Project Tiger in 1973, when the population of tigers were declining and the declining trend was arrested. And in the most recent population estimates, we have quite a good population. We also have birds, almost 60% of Asiatic elephants population, which works out to be 30,000. Currently, there is one synchronized elephant estimation exercise is going on. So I think very soon we will be updating these figures. And you all will appreciate that having an elephant in forest is not an easy thing, because this is an animal which takes a toll on every resource which is there. We are also very rich in avifauna. We have around 13%, or you can say around 1,300 species of birds. After that, we, as all of you already know, we have a very stringent regulatory measures. We have very stringent regulatory or legal framework. And we also have one Wildlife Protection Act. Under the Wildlife Protection Act, there is a concept of creating the protected areas. And we have around 20% of our forest under this network, which allows no harvest. Those forest areas, this PA network is to be kept in whatever shape it is given to us by nature. And we also are the largest employer in the Indian energy sector. 11 million people engage in fuel wood trade. After this, if I move towards the economics of forest, if I talk about the GVA, the gross value addition which happens in the forestry sector, you will find that it is one of the lowest. Why I'm showing this figure, I'll come to you in the later part of my presentation. This is only 1.3% share which we currently have. This is the framework. I think this is already spoken about: the Indian Forest Act, the Wildlife Act, the Forest Conservation Act, Biodiversity Act. And the act which has been given in the last is not a simple piece of legislation. This Forest Rights Act allows the forest dweller community to exercise their rights living in the forest sustainably, and those rights have been acknowledged by our country. Now I come to the major challenges which I have identified, and I think all of you will agree we have, although if I speak about the last ISFR report, Indian State of Forest report, which is published biennially by the Forest Survey of India, we have shown an increasing trend. And now, if we compare the figures from 21 to 23, we have added around 1,500 square kilometer area in our forest and tree cover. The incidences of fire have also gone down. But that apart, we still have a big problem of habitat fragmentation. This habitat fragmentation is not only damaging to the wildlife, to the fauna living there, but it is also puts a lot of burden on the managers. The forest productivity is a major area of concern. This is something which is getting a lot of attention from the forest planners nowadays because of low productivity. Our rural community, they don't have viable alternatives in terms of when they are depending on us for the fodder, for the energy. The grazing pressure, obviously, they have to be very high because we sustain the biggest population of cattle. The forest fire is another area which deserves attention because we have around, if I have to number them, we have more than 2 lakh incidences of fire every year, and currently we are in the fire season. And lastly, the integration of technology and the research inputs are to be put into practice. These are again some figures that how much fuel wood is consumed in our country and how much is collected directly from the forest. And this is quoted from the Forest Survey report that 27% of our country's forest is prone to fire. But one more thing is to be added here, that 90% of the forest fire cases are human induced. Fortunately for us, in our country, the forest fire is not that damaging. As you might have heard, South Korea had it, the US would have it every year, or very regularly they have it. But in our case, most of the forest fires are only ground based, and they do damage the regeneration and all of the things, but at least the trees are not harmed directly. This is where I actually wanted to come, the forest productivity enhancement. If I look at the world average, it is around 3 cubic meter per hectare per year. This is our productivity in the world, while India is having only a 1/3 of it. The solution lies in having, although we are a tropical country, we understand that the growth patterns and everything is very specific to this kind of climate, but still there is a lot of scope that we can have some improved planting material. We have to put in whatever advances we are making in the research area and the technological area into this. The wood import, we do 2 types of imports. One, the wood import, and secondly, we also import a lot of wood produce articles. So wood imports is something like 581 billion INR. This is only in INR. We are importing from countries like Malaysia, Germany, and other. We are also importing a lot in terms of wood products. That is processed wood, paper products, and that is on a rising trend. Every year, it grows on a, like you can say, 5%, and nearly 6 to 7 billion USD we have to invest in getting these wood imports. If we come on the climate change side, because that is also for one big contribution of forestry sector, our nationally determined contribution after the Paris Agreement was to create additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent. I'm very happy to inform all of you, or you already might have known that, because the latest ISFR says that we have achieved around 2.29 billion out of it. This additional carbon sink can only come from planting more and more trees, as my distinguished speakers have already highlighted. And the point is that in the forest, there is not much scope of planting. So now you have to go out of the forest area, and the concept which we call tree outside forest. So this is the quantum which is to be planted, some 6,800 to 8,700 million seedlings with a success rate of 40%. Then after 10 years, you can say that we have achieved it fully. So this is now transitioning from afforestation to forest restoration, because we have been signatory to various degradation. There is a UN convention on combating desertifications. We have been signatory to that. There is the Bond Challenge. We have also working in that direction. So we have given ourselves a restoration target, which is around 26 million hectares. And the TOF, as I mentioned earlier, is the only way out if we can reduce the wood and wood product imports also. There are a number of schemes which Government of India has launched, and we have achieved substantial success also in that. The number one is the National Mission for Green India, which is also called Green India Mission. So this is currently being practiced in some 18 states and union territories, and some 1,000 crore has already been invested in that. We have a Nagar Van Yojana, and it is running in 31 states. Some 546 projects have already been undertaken. Some 431 crore has happened. Green Credit Program, I would like to mention here, this is a very, very innovative program, which actually, uh, Justice Anand Pathak was mentioning about that, we should have some carbon bank or something like that. So this is a Green Credit Program, which is a voluntary participation, which focuses on bringing in a lot of investment from various CPSUs, various private entrepreneurs also, where they can earn certain green credits. These green credits can later on be converted into carbon credits, which many companies have certain obligations under the Paris Agreement. There is another scheme which is running in our country is called MISHTI, the Mangrove Initiative for Shoreline Habitats and Tangible Incomes. This unique scheme looks at promoting mangroves in our country, because mangroves, as you know, has a very, very significant role in combating the climate change. The coastal states are coming into this, and they have done quite a bit in the last 2 years. We have a national coastal mission, which has a very similar objective what the MISHTI has. Then we have conservation of aquatic ecosystems. The aquatic ecosystems are also very, very important for combating climate change. Last year, you might remember the Honorable Prime Minister launched a campaign called Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, where people were exhorted to plant in the name of their mother. So quite a bit of progress has already made in this in last 1 year. Then we have Kempa fundings, which is again a good source of finance if we want to do something. Besides that, we have also tried to standardize our forest management standards. The criteria and indicators have been identified because our forest management hovers around sustainable forest management theory, because we don't want our forests to get replenished and get diminished. We want it to grow sustainably. So this has been inbuilt into the National Working Plan Code 23 also, and our Indian Institute of Forest Management at Bhopal is taking care of this. Similarly, we are also running a forest and wood certification scheme. This scheme is very, very important when we are facing a lot of regulations which are imposed by a lot of foreign countries like European Union and others, because they want you to harvest, but it should be sustainable. So when you have to prove that you have done it sustainably, this forest and wood certification scheme comes into picture. FSI is an organization which is looking at creating digital forest atlas, is giving us like digitized boundaries also, and they have already done it for around 23 forest parcels across different states. So this is what I wanted to say before all of you. I thank everyone for attention. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the importance of forests in providing livelihoods and success stories. May I now request Dr. Ashisho Asose Maoji, Director, Botanical Survey of India, to kindly take over the floor, please.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Chairperson, Justice Anand Pathak, respected Moderator Dr. C. Achalandra Reddy, Chairperson of National Biodiversity Authority, my esteemed colleagues, panelists, Honorable Justice Sudhir Agarwal, Dr. Renu Singh, IFS, Dr. Sushil Kumar Awasthi, Director General of Ministry of Environment and Forest. First of all, I would like to thank Green Tribunal for inviting me to be a part of this August gathering and to discuss very important issue on this session 3 on biodiversity and sustainable development. First of all, I would like to highlight about my department and why I'm here. I'm wondering whether you are aware of Botanical Survey of India or not. It is a premier institute under the Ministry of Environment and Forests, Government of India. And this is one of the oldest institutions set up since the British time. It was founded in 1890. You must be wondering why the British have done this. You see, they came and invaded our country and they ruled the country. And then when they came, they didn't come to stay for a few years. They planned to stay for so many years, hundreds of years. And then when they came that time, they understood the importance of bioeconomy. So, in order to study that bioeconomy or the biodiversity, what we call today, they set up this survey department, Botanical Survey of India, so that they can go to different parts of the country or the where the British Empire in this area. And they can survey every part of the country and find out what is important, what is economically useful, so that they can take it and exploit it for their economy, because that time industrial revolution was not like today, but it was depending so much on bioresources, spices, timber, and all this like that. So what they did was they formed the department in different parts, and set up different parts of the country, regional centers. And then they send the people to different parts of the country to find out and document. And that is what it was like that. So now, after independence, the government of India realized that this department is very important, it should continue. So that's why it was reorganized in 1954, and that's how it was. It is continuing. And I must say that India is fortunate to have this unit department. Of course, we have different survey departments: Botanical Survey of India, Zoological Survey of India, Archaeological Survey of India, Geological Survey of India. And I must tell you, all these were created by the British when they came. And then, so what is our mandate after the independence was that is to survey all parts of the country and document all the wild resources of the country. We do only the wild plant resources of the country. And then also, we also collect germplasm of those wild economic importance, and also conserve this execute in the botanic garden, these economic plants, medicinal plants, rare, threatened, or endemic plants. These are conserved like that. So at present, we have 12 regional centers, and we also have associate botanic gardens, 11 botanic gardens are there. And we have herbarium collection, that is the dry specimens of plant samples collected from different parts of the country. So in this, we have over 3.5 million specimens, and this is the second largest in Asia. You may be wondering, why do we need to keep this many collections? So, by the way, I forgot to tell, as far as this survey and documentation, so far in India, we have documented about 55,726 taxa of plants. So that is up to date. So in this, you may be wondering, then why do we need to have 3.5 million specimens of this? Why not only 55,000? But then you see, the important thing is that these specimens are collected from different parts of the country. It is not from one place. So one species may be having 1,000 specimens. Why this is important is that gives the distribution of the species found in different parts of the country, because the species are not found in one place. So it helps, suppose you want to go and find out that plant, then you can find the localities from where it is found. Then you can go and search like that. And that is why the distribution map can be easily made, and one can go and search for that. Then also these collections are best, starting from 1700 to today. So over a period of 300 years to even up to 400 years, collections are there. And that is one of the best material for studies of climate change also. Climate change, because, and also the distribution, what is happening today in the decline of the species and all this, so we can find out what is the status of each plant also. That is why it's very important. And you see, India is very unique because of our geographical position, location. We are at the Indo-Malayan biogeography realms, which is very rich in biodiversity. And then now about this, my department, I just wanted to say, again, I'm talking about my department so much. You see, if we want to know biodiversity, how do we know biodiversity? How can we know biodiversity? If we do not know how to identify the plants and animals in that particular area, how will you understand biodiversity? That's why plant taxonomy or animal taxonomy, taxonomies are very important, because without them, you will not know what is there in that particular forest or particular locality. And that is why biodiversity studies mean taxonomies are the basic, or they are the most important thing in that region. Then also, if one can understand what is in that particular forest, then it becomes easier for the managers of the forest. What we can take the priorities, we can set aside priorities, what need to be conserved, what need to be done first. Without knowing the species composition in that particular area, it is impossible to take the decision what to be done first. So that is why these are the important of the thing. And India has committed so much, in the global convention. We also have committed so many things. And in that, even Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Under that, it says that every country has to conserve at least 30% of their endemic or threatened plants, etc., by 2030. So we are also committed to that, and we have our gardens, we are conserving that, but then we have not reached that 20 or 30%. We are just almost less than 20%, yes, so to say, or that. Right now, in my department garden, we have 11 gardens, and that we have about 10,000 species are conserved, but that endemic and threatened species, hardly about 20%, less than 20%, so to say. So it's a lot of work to be done still in that. Then also, we are also working on, for the public, to digitize the whole herbarium material, what is in that, in our position, that 3.5 million, that is we're digitizing so that people can have easily on the platform, in the website, they can see the thing, and they can also use it. And also for the policymakers, to make it, they can understand and use it. That is what we're trying to do that. Here, Of course, already our DG, Dr. Awasthi, has already mentioned about the different action taken by the government of India, and so many things which I was also about to say, but all are already said, so I'm not going to repeat. But then for ex-situ conservation, we need to do it more because we do not have facilities like the Western countries. Just for example, like Denver Botanic Garden or they have societies in the US. They have 4 gardens of different altitudinal zones so that they can conserve different species. In that, they have about 27,000 species conserved. America do not have 27,000 species. They have much less, but they have collected from all over the world and they have brought it and conserved. In India, we have the biggest botanic garden in India, this Indian Botanic Garden in Howrah. That is, I mean, it's also about 250 years old. But we have around only 4,000 species conserved. And in that, hardly about 500 endemic and threatened species. But then you may be asking me why we have not conserved that more than that. But we also need a lot of infrastructure, which state of the art, because like if you see in Western countries how they have the conservatories and all this for different plants and animals to be kept. So that is why we also need to do. That, and then also BSI and ZSI, Zoological Survey of India. We also have, since we have committed and we have started working on the red list index of our country, that is the red list plants of our country. So we have already formed the vision document for 2030 to complete the red list of our country so that it will help in our EPI, that Environmental Performance Index calculation also. So and then also, we are also working on the invasive alien species. And this is going to be a very big challenge for our country also. If you look at the recent paper published by Bang et al., 2022, the government of India or India has already spent from 1960 to 1920, about 8 to 11.9 trillion rupees for this invasive management. And we are finding that a lot of invasive species are coming, these alien species are coming to our country. You know, all of us love plants. And you go to nursery, private nurseries, today you get all type of plants. They are bringing from different parts of the world. But these are also, you have to be very careful because this exotic species or this alien species has also, we call it a double face it has. The ecological risk and an economic benefit. Because of economic benefit, we are bringing so much, but in the long term, it can also turn out to be ecological risk. Some of the example already we are seeing is that water hyacinth, Eichhornia. Water hyacinth was brought to India in the 1700s by Colonel Robert Kidd when he was when he was in charge of the Indian Botanic Garden, when he was the one who founded the Indian Botanic Garden. On a voyage from South America to India, he found that the plants were floating in the water and beautiful flower. So he said, this is very beautiful ornamental plant. So he collected a few of that and brought it to Calcutta and gave to his wife as a gift to grow as an ornamental plant. Then afterward, it exploded like anything like that. Then lantana camera. Today, the forest department is facing very big issue. The whole country is facing a big issue. So that also is same thing again. That was also brought as a ornamental plant like that. So that is why in this thing also we need to look into it and bring out a strict guideline regarding this invasive species. Therefore, I'm sure in this deliberation, we can come out with something which can be useful for the country, and also this judiciary can do a lot. And I would like to request the judiciary to also to help, to make it compulsory for this corporate to also do this, to take part in biodiversity conservation. Because I have experienced, whenever we ask them, they say, no, we don't do in biodiversity conservation. They say they do tree plantation, but when you ask for other biodiversity conservation program, they say we don't have program like that. That's why most of them refuse to take part in that. But that is why my request is that you can help in this matter also, then it will be very useful. So with these few words, thank you once again.
Thank you, sir, for giving historical importance of Botanical Survey of India and importance of plant taxonomy in biodiversity and red list index of the plants and invasive alien species. May I now request Dr. Renu Singh ji, Director FRI, Forest Research Institute, Dehradun, to kindly take over the floor.
Honorable Chair of the session, dignitaries on the dais, honorable members of judiciary, delegates, dear students, press and media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. As you all know, forests are one of the most important renewable natural resources available to the mankind. They are the key element of terrestrial ecological system. The forestry sector in India has traditionally been a very well-organized sector, and India is one of the few countries in the world that regularly undertakes assessment of its forest resources. My earlier speakers have already talked about many issues related to forest and biodiversity, and my task has been made easy. In my presentation, I will try to touch upon the issues related with the forest status of the country, various kinds of threats and challenges we face in their sustainable management, and what could be the plausible solution or strategies to deal with these challenges. The National Forest Policy of India, 1988, aims at having 1/3 of the total geographical land under forest and tree cover. However, currently, we are having only 25% of the total land under forest and tree cover. So, we are short of 8%. And roughly 25 million hectares of more land is to be brought under forest and tree cover if we want to meet these policy targets. India's forests are known for their high endemism, and they are home to 80% biodiversity of the country. We are having 4 biodiversity hotspots in our country: Himalayas, Indo-Burma region, Sundaland, that is Nicobar Islands, and Western Ghats. Earlier speakers have talked many issues related to biodiversity, so I won't go deeper into this. Let us have a look at the key indicators depicting the forest health of India's forest. As we can see, all is not well with the India's forest when we compare them with the world forest. The growth of forest is very low. They are not growing as fast as forests in other parts of the world are growing. Hence, our productivity is at 0.7 cubic meter per hectare per year, which is quite low in comparison to that of the world average at 2.1 cubic meter per hectare per year. And as a result, we are having low growing stock in our forest in comparison to world average. And this low productivity and growing stock, these have very serious implication for carbon sequestration potential of our forest. Our forests are not able to capture enough carbon or lock carbon in comparison to world forests. So we are not in a position to realize the full potential of our forest because of this low productivity. The positive side of India's forests is that they have been steadily increasing in the last 3 decades. And at the same time, tree cover outside recorded forest is also increasing, as is evident from the fact that more land is coming under agroforestry. And more forest is coming under our protected area network as well. So this is very good. But we cannot ignore the fact that our forests are under severe pressure and hence degradation is taking place. Earlier speakers, they have talked in length about these various pressures which our forests are facing today. But the important thing to note is that this degradation is leading to the low productivity of forest. So at one side we can say that there's this happy situation, our forest cover is increasing, but at the same time, our productivity of forest remains low. The story of deforestation in India can be explained through the lens of Forest Conservation Act 1980. Before the passage of this act, after independence, 4.5 million hectares of forest land was diverted in 3 decades for agriculture and irrigation. But after this act came into force in 1980, only 1.5 million hectares of forest land has been diverted, and that too mainly to take care of the economic related, a growing need of the country in the form of minerals and infrastructure network. So we can say that Forest Conservation Act has been a very strong and powerful instrument to keep a check on forest degradation or forest deforestation, particularly for non-forestry purpose in the country. We are a country of 1.4 billion people, and people living in and around forest area, they are heavily dependent on forest for a variety of purpose, including livelihood. In this slide, you can see that the gap between demand and supply is continuously increasing because of this population pressure. So our forest, day by day, they are getting degraded. So how do we understand the impacts of deforestation and degradation on humans and environment? For this, we have to look at various ecosystem services forests provide. We can divide these services into provisioning, supportive, regulating, and cultural services. When forests get degraded or depleted, these services are also disrupted. A very good example is climate change the entire world is experiencing. Forests, particularly, they are very important. They are the storehouse of biodiversity, and when they get degraded, even nutrient cycle or soil erosion also happens, and water availability, they are also impacted. So the restoration of the forest also becomes very difficult, and hence it leads to the loss of biodiversity. In this slide, I have tried to summarize various challenges we face in forest conservation and restoration. Much has been said about this. I would like to take one point in this slide, that is the climate change. We all talk about mitigation potential of forest. How we can provide solution to climate change or air pollution or water pollution by growing more forest. There are few debates about adaptation need of forest. Because there is very long gestation period in forest, so if there are any impact on forest due to climate change, we are going to see those impacts after a long time. By then, you can say that we won't be in a position to handle those adverse impact on forest. So we have to think about this need of adaptation of forest in the face of climate change. And I would also like to emphasize on the low priority of research in the forestry sector. Because we are not having adequate funding for research, our research in India in this forestry sector is not as good as we see in other parts of the world. So we need to take care of this challenge as well. In India, we are having very good institutional framework in terms of legislations and organizational arrangements. And India is also a signatory to various international commitments. And the commitments made in this international agreement, they provide a roadmap which can help us to address various challenges in a proactive manner. And earlier speaker, they have already talked about this, so I won't take much time here. So, what more can we do with these challenges? We know we are having these challenges. We know that our forests are getting degraded. Our productivity of forest is also low. So what are the ways in which we can help our forest, we can save our forest? I would like to emphasize policies in forest-allied sectors. They are very important because they have adverse impact on forestry sector. And I would like to say that we need to develop some kind of synergy, some harmonization in all the policies across these forest-allied sectors. And when we talk about this resource allocation, we need to understand that forestry or growing trees, it's a seasonal activity. So the question here is not only the appropriate allocation of resources to forestry sector, but also timeliness is very important here. We need to invest in modern research and technologies in the forestry sector. And I would like to highlight the importance of tree improvement programs in forestry sector. We all know that there are many crop improvement programs in the agriculture sector, but you hardly hear anything about the tree improvement programs in this sector. In the face of climate change, we need to have climate resilient species. We need to have fast-growing alternatives of traditional timber-producing species, and we need to have quality planting material. We need to have modern technologies with the help of which we can monitor the pace at which our forests are changing in the face of climate change, what is happening to our forest. So we need all these technologies and techniques. And lastly, I would like to emphasize that without engaging people, we cannot achieve anything. And forestry sector is not an exception. So I feel all policies and conservation programs, they need to be contextualized in socio-economic background. We need to bring people with us to save our forest. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for giving a very comprehensive picture about the Indian forest. May I now request Honorable Justice Anand Pathak ji just to briefly closing remarks. Sir, floor is yours.
We are already overshooting. But just, I remember one slogan written in one of the Shamshan Shamshan at Indore, where it has become a beautiful urban park, one can say, by the help of some senior advocates there at Indore. It says that plant one tree because after your departure you will take out one on chita or coffin. So at least that message had a very deep impact over me, that every person must realize that before departure he must plant one tree. That is one thought. And but I would just say, and I will thank all panelists for enriching the debate and for helping in germination of thought. So let us plant life and hope, and time is to act now. Thanks.
We are grateful to all the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. We express our gratitude. It is said we can repay the bank loan, we can repay the loan of the goldsmith, but we have to die indebted forever for the values and teachings which we receive from our mentors and trainers. So we are grateful, Lordship, and all the panelists. I assure on behalf of all the members present in the House that we'll embodied all these learning today which we have taken to protect the environment. 3 takeaways of this session we'll be taking. First, forest and biodiversity is lifeblood of our planet. Second, destroying rainforest for economic gain is like burning a valuable masterpiece painting to cook a food. Third, what you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of a difference you want to make in a society. Thank you.